Hi, and thanks for joining me today. I've got a flip video of Tonic Studios Craft Kit number 33, White Wonderland. And so in this video, I'll be showing you a flat card, a layered card, an interactive card, and a pop-up card, all using the contents in this kit. When I sit down to do crafting, I usually do sort of all of my mixed media, if I'm going to use mixed media, at the same time, and all of my die cutting at the same time. And so that way, while I have all of the supplies out, I can just use them and then put them away. And when I sit down to make cards, I'll hopefully have enough things to kind of play with. So at this point in my card making, I really don't have a design in mind. I'm just playing with the different media, playing with the different supplies, and I'll see what I get when it's all done and then use it however comes to mind. So those first couple panels there were just some ink smushing, and in the kit there's an embellishment mousse and an expanding mousse. And I'm not really using the expanding mousse, which is what I'm applying right now, for its expanding properties. I'm actually just using it more like an embellishment mousse. And right there that I flashed on the screen is modeling paste, and that's from my own stash. And it's just a sort of a embossing paste or a texture paste. It's thick. It has good structure, and I'm using it because of a couple reasons. One, it's going to kind of extend the product a little bit and also change the color because the modeling paste is an opaque white, so it'll give me some color variation. And here I'm actually sprinkling on some of the glitter that is in the kit as well. And I'd never done that before, so hopefully I'm hoping it does stick to the modeling paste and doesn't just kind of wipe off, but we'll see. Here I'm using their stencil, and this stencil is really awesome. It's a full design. It's even got the sentiment Merry Christmas on it, and one of the things I'm going for, especially with the modeling paste, is to add some variation in color. And I just keep on making more panels because I just didn't want that to go to waste. And so here I added a little bit more water to what was left because it gets to be tricky when you keep adding more paste and then more mousse. So this I've never done before, just painted with the embellishment mousse, but it works really well and it's so creamy and nice to apply. I'm just pouncing it with a large round watercolor brush at different angles, and I really love the effect that gave. And that was the first time I had done that before, so I'll definitely try that technique again on other projects. And this is how I seal my little pots of mousse because I don't use it as often as I probably should, and so I'm a little worried about it drying out. So my hope is that the press and seal will keep the air out and the moisture in, and hopefully prevent it from drying out. I also use something called polish from Cosmic Shimmer, and I do the same thing with those, and I sometimes even will kind of spritz some distilled water before I seal it up, especially for things that I use very, very rarely, and that just adds some moisture before you seal it. So now I'm going to do all of my die cutting, and these little window frames are super cute. I love the holographic paper. Here I put a little bit of press and seal behind the die cut, and that was so that I could preserve all the little bits, because while I don't have a full card idea in mind, I did know that I wanted to do some die cut inlaying because that holographic card is just so pretty and I didn't want any of it to go to waste. And so my idea was to create two panels that have sort of inverted or reverse colors from each other. So one will have the holographic colored outline with the center being white, and then the other will have a white frame with the holographic in the center. And you do get a different look when you inlay the die cut pieces back in because everything is nice and flush. So it is a nice look and it's different. But my main motivation was because I just thought this paper was so pretty and I didn't want to waste any of it. And I knew just looking at the previous die cuts that there were a lot of itty bitty pieces, and that's why I brought out the press and seal, because not only does it ensure that I have all of those pieces and they don't go flying everywhere, but that I also know where each of those little bits actually go, because some of them are really teeny tiny and it would be really hard for me anyways to figure out where some of them are supposed to go. And this way it just makes it a little bit more obvious. I often do this when there's really pretty paper that I love. The first thing that comes to mind whenever I die cut with it is to do some inlay with the pieces that drop out of the die cut. So you can see I even got those little itty bitty pieces from that bobble into their positions. And even though it did take quite a bit of time, it was well worth it, I think. Okay, so here I'm going to get into the actual card making. Those are the two stencils, panels that I stenciled, and they're going to be my flat cards. And certainly, if you wanted, you could stencil directly onto your card front. But as I mentioned, I opened the kit and I just started to play with the items in the kit. And so I didn't really think ahead or plan ahead my designs for this flip. So it still technically falls within my particular guidelines for a flat card, which is just the card base plus one layer at most. And stencils are a really great way to achieve flat cards, because you can do what I did where I put some mousse and modeling paste through it, but you could also ink through the stencil too, and that would be another really awesome look as well. And with a stencil as pretty as this one, you really don't need anything else. I didn't even put any Nuvo drops or anything on it because it just looks so pretty and clean and simple. There's this is the panel where I put a little bit of splatter from the sparkle spray, and then I stenciled over it. And you can see the color difference between the two panels. One is the one on screen right now to the left is more uniform in color. That was the sort of quote second generation stencil, because I just had extra product left over and I didn't want to have that go to waste. This panel that I'm adhering now, this was more the intent of the look I was going for, with the more color variation, the darker color, and I kind of wish there was a little bit more color variation, so next time I'm gonna use a little bit less of the mousse and use more of my modeling paste, which is just the opaque white. On this, this is going to be my layered card, and I'm starting off with a frame of that holographic paper, which I am definitely going to buy some because that was my favorite paper in this kit, and it's so pretty. I think it's their iridescent mirror card in Marina Mist, and it's I love how it catches the light and has that iridescent multicolor look to it. This panel that I'm attaching to it, again, I am using double-sided adhesive tape pretty generously because after all of that sort of mousse and modeling paste, the panel itself is a little bit kind of heavy, so I just want to make sure that it adheres well onto the card. And I did gut out quite a lot from that holographic paper, pretty much as I could felt I could get away with, because I wanted to get a preserve or save as much of it as possible, because you're not going to see inside there anyways. This big panel I'm putting covers most of it, so why waste it? But the panel turned out really nice. So it's got that, you can see the glitter that's sort of shimmering, and I think the card really needed it, because the embellishment mousse that came in the kit, the Polar Wind one, it's more of a grayish blue, and so I think the glitter really added some sparkle that isn't too in your face. It's subtle, but it's very noticeable, and you can even see it on the camera, so it's really pretty. It's just got that hint of shine. I actually wish I had put a little bit more on. I wasn't too sure, because I'd never done it before, what it would look like. And the nice thing about it is that it only stuck to where I stenciled, because I let the panel dry after I did the smooshing with the embellishment mousse, and so it's just really pretty. I like how it turned out. I'm definitely gonna do that technique again. On this card, this is my interactive card, and it's actually the second interactive card that I made. I didn't really love the first one, so I'm not gonna show it, but I had the idea to just do this little peekaboo window, and what I'm using here is the handcrafted cotton paper, which has all of that really great texture. And you can still, even though I'm putting a die cut frame over it, you can still appreciate and see all of that texture, and it almost looks kind of like cobblestoney. And so I thought it would work really well for this panel, which is almost like a door to me, because the silver cardstock that I'm using is, I think it's one of their embossed cardstocks, and it's sort of a pinstripey texture to it. And so that's sort of my door, and I've got the frame that I'm gonna put on now, and that's again, I'm being generous with my double-sided adhesive, and the reason in this case is because that handcrafted cotton paper is textured, and so I don't want to have to burnish super hard, because I don't want to flatten all of that beautiful texture. So instead, I'm just going to be really generous with the tape and give it a light burnish, and that way hopefully it's going to have enough stick. And I'm just being extra cautious. I'm sure it's probably not as necessary as I believe it to be, but liquid glue would also have been great too, because that'll definitely give a nice permanent stick. That inside sentiment that you see there does not come in the kit, but I like having longer sentiments on the insides of my cards, so that's why I've used that. This panel I didn't show myself making, because I made it after the fact, and all I did here was I took the expanding mousse, and again, I didn't use it for its expanding properties. I'll have to play around with the actual expanding properties of it later, but I just really used it for the color, because I love the color. It goes really well with it matches really well with the iridescent mirror card. So but all I did there was I watered down that mousse a little bit, put it on some acetate, and then covered it with another piece of acetate and then just smooshed it around. And I was going for an uneven coverage. I wanted to leave some spots a little bit clear so that you can sort of just get a peek of what was behind or inside the card, but not be able to read it completely. And in my head, I was sort of going for like that stained glass look, although stained glass usually has all of those different compartments, so I don't know that this is necessarily gonna qualify as that look, but I like how it turned out, and I like how it's like a peek straight into the inside of the card. And you might have noticed that I did trim down a little bit these panels here, and that's just so that the little door frame / window frame opens nicely, and that it doesn't sort of overlap the fold that is the hinge of the card or the window. And then the last layer that's going to go onto this door is the die cut of one of 3 designs. And so I just cut that out of some white, and so that's a little Christmas tree, but there are 3 different verso dies that have designs, and then you get different outline dies that have different shapes on the exterior. I think there's one that's a scallop border. I only used the straight border, and then there's one that doesn't actually die cut the window out, but instead just adds I think stitched, or maybe it's a dot pattern. I can't remember which now. Yeah, it's a dot pattern, and so 2 of the 3 small window arch frames will cut the actual frame. One's a straight edge and one's a scalloped edge, and then the third of the same size adds a little dotted pattern. So really super cute. I love Tonic's kits and their die sets in general because they are really well designed. They always offer a variety of different ways to use and combine the dies in the set. And I didn't use everything in the set at all. There's actually a larger rectangle frame and decorative verso die that's larger than the panel that I used here. And so there's so much that you can do with their die sets. I'm generous with my foam here as well because normally actually I would just use my foam sheets and die cut that little window so that I have a full panel with the same window cut out of the center. But ever since I started using foam sheets, I stopped using my other foam adhesive tapes, and I made it a mission of mine to just start using up some of my older supplies just to clear them out of my storage and craft room and not have these things sort of accumulate. So that was just Scotch tape that I was using. And here's my last card. It's my pop-up card, and I found myself short one of these frames, so I'm just quickly die cutting another one and putting it together. You can see I'm using that holographic iridescent mirror card. So pretty. And here's the larger frame that I was mentioning earlier. So that's the largest frame in the die set, and it's larger than an A2 size. So this is a little bit of a different size card, and I cut my card base to essentially accommodate this frame. So it's about, I think it's 5 by 5.5. I'm not 100% sure, but I do know it'll fit into a 5 by 7 envelope, which is why I felt that I could easily just put this custom sized card together, because I do have 5 by 7 envelopes. And this was the panel that was just my quote, use up the leftover media, and I have that little stenciled bit in the center, and then the surrounding was just the painting that I did, kind of pouncing that I did with the Embellishment Mousse, super watered down. And this card kit actually came with a 6x6 paper pad. I don't think that that's normally the case with their card kits. I don't think any of the other ones that I bought from out of their vault when they opened it earlier had paper pads in them. So I'm not sure if this is a new thing that they're doing, or if it's just particular to maybe this kit. But this pop-up is super easy. I did custom cut that band, and it's easy to figure out the dimensions for that. So all you have to do is just cut a strip that's the height of sort of that straight area of the window frame. And then to figure out the length of the band that you need, I just gave myself about 1.5 inches on either ends. That's going to adhere down to the card base, and then each of the 4 sections is essentially the width of the window frame. So you can see all the designs that come in the die set, and I did double up on the Christmas tree because that's the one that you can see the most of that iridescent mirror card. So I doubled that one up and put it on the 2 ends. And this definitely works best with 4 panels, because it looks a little bit more symmetrical, and it looks nicer. So I don't think I could have done it with 3 and have, as good of a outcome. So I put the inside panels of the pattern paper down first, and then I'm going to attach my pop-up mechanism. So you just glue one side down, and you can see I'm going to be using the other panel of pattern paper to hide these tabs. So there you saw I just put some glue on the other tab, and I closed the card down, and that just ensures that your card's gonna open and close with ease, that your glue tabs are attached exactly where they need to be. And then I have my pattern paper that just hides those glue tabs, so it just really looks very seamless, and you don't see kind of the inner workings of the pop-up mechanism. I just love how that mirror card looks. So here's a recap of my flipped cards. So my 2 flat cards. This is the one that's as designed with the color variation. This is my layered card. Lots of different textures, different colors, and some sparkle and shine. My interactive card is a little peekaboo window, and I did use the outer layer of that painted background. So I used up all of my panels essentially that I created. And these last 2 cards I did add some Nouveau drops, which do come, those are crystal drops that come in the kit. And I did add a little sentiment square to the inside of this card. So those are my 4 cards. I hope that you enjoyed my take on the Tonic Studios Craft Kit 33. Thanks so much for joining me. Happy crafting, and until my next video, have a fantastic day. Bye!